Our final reader is Marjorie Saiser, and her new book, I Have Nothing to Say About Fire, is Marjorie's 5th full-length book of poems. She co-edited Road Trip, which was produced by the Backwaters Press in 2003, which featured interviews with writers who teach, and she also co-edited Times of Sorrow, Times of Grace, which was released by the Backwaters Press in 2002, which is a collection of prose and poetry by women of the Great Plains and the High Plains. Saiser's awards include the Willa Award for Poetry, 4 Nebraska Book Awards, the Nebraska Literary Heritage Award, an Academy of American Poets Awards, the Vreelands Award, and the Leo Love Award. She was named Distinguished Artist in Poetry by the Nebraska Arts Council in 2009. Her poems have been published in anthologies, the anthologies Nebraska Presence, Women Rat Resistance, and the Untidy Season, as well as having been published in American Life and Poetry, Writer's Almanac, Prairie Schooner, Georgia Review, Nimrod, Rattle, Chattahoochee Review, Cream City Review, Smartish Pace, Burnt District, RHINO, Fourth River, Field, and the Cimarron Review, and about 1 million others too.
Thank you to Backwaters Press. Backwaters has been really good to me for 20 years, and cake. Thank you. And thank you, each of you in the chairs tonight. I'm cracking open this new book. I Have Nothing to Say About Fire. And I'll begin with a poem to a tribute to those who mother us, who wish the best for us. She gives me the watch off her arm. My mother wants me to go to college. The closest she has ever been is this, the dorm. Her father had needed her to dig the potatoes and load them into burlap bags. But here she is, leaving her daughter on the campus, in the city, time to go. We are at the desk. The clerk is wide-eyed when my mother asks her if she will take an out-of-town check if the need arises, if something comes up. So my girl will have money. Even I know this isn't going to happen. This check cashing, a clerk helping me with money. But miracle of miracles, the clerk says nothing, and I say nothing, and my mother feels better. We go to the parking lot, old glasses, thick graying hair. She is wearing a man's shirt, has to get back to the job. We stand beside her Ford, and it is here she undoes the buckle of the watch and holds it out to me. My father's watch, keeping good time for him and then for her. She says she knows I will need a watch to get to class. We hug, and she gets in, starts the car, eases into traffic. No wave. The metal of the back of the watch is smooth to my thumb, and it keeps for a moment a warmth from her skin. I'll read the title poem, I Have Nothing to Say About Fire, and I've been handing out fireballs, candy. My good friend Lucy gave me a big sack of fireball candies. I brought half of them. You knew best, Lucy. I should have brought the whole bag. I did run out, so I owe some of you a fireball. I've been eating a lot of them. have nothing to say about fire. I have nothing to say about fire, except my father could build one. His hands moved logs into place, his hands with scars I would recognize anywhere. I have nothing to say about hands, except his were old and good. I have nothing to say about good. They are right and left hands, good and lucky. I could say guilt, because my sister on some other side of the world, to the right or left of lucky, is biting her lip, tasting blood. She may be lying on a floor thinking of pain. I have nothing to say because I have said it and am lucky, undeserving. I, who did not earn, did not choose, did not merit. I have nothing to say. Time to say it, people to listen. I have everything. The theme of I Have Nothing to Say About Fire is that gap between the fact we know that cruelty and injustice are going on in the world, and yet here we are with friends enjoying poetry and cake. Those two things. This is our world. The good things exist and the injustice exists, and we can't ignore either one. The poet Wisława Szymborska has a line, "Forgive me distant wars for bringing flowers home." In other words, I know that I'm enjoying my friends and family while these cruelties are going on. You can't go a day without reading about violent death. And we hear about violence toward children and how soon it fades after we hear it. Forgive me, distant wars, for bringing flowers home. Small boy, forgive me. Breaking news tells of you and the big man who scraped your skin, cursed you, stuffed your body into a file drawer, slammed it shut on your cries. I cannot forget your murder, but I do forget. I look up a recipe, I search my cabinets for sugar, for salt. Your mouth jammed against some part of your leg. How could he do that? How could this world let him? Child, stranger, you cried out and went silent. I have watched sunrise happen on the Santa Rita Mountains. I have walked in the shade, a breeze flapping my scarf. I have laughed with friends 1,000 days. Local boy taken. This poem tries to pay tribute to those who give their lives in the service of others. I saw a headline in a small town newspaper, "Local boy taken." His mother receives a folded flag. Somebody holds a sign that says, "Thank you." Somebody says he was a jokester. Somebody says his favorite trick was to run across the room and fall down as though he had hit an imaginary clothesline. He did this trick in a department store where his brother was working. He ran, pretended to hit the clothesline, fell down. His sergeant says He volunteered for duties like cleaning the floor with a toothbrush. Somebody says that was just how he was. Somebody says he was a natural with a wrench and he could dunk a basketball. Once he shattered the backboard. Those assembled at the cemetery stand through a round of rifle shots. He ran across the room. He ran across the room and fell down. The print the whales make. If you're on a boat nearby when a whale dives, for a moment on the surface of the water there will be this huge circle. The print the whales make. You and I on the boat notice the print the whales leave, the huge ring their diving draws for a time on the surface. Is it like that when we lose one another? Don't know, can't. But I want to believe when we can no longer walk across a room for a hug, can no longer step into the arms of the other, there will be this, some trace that stays while the great body remains below out of sight. Dark mammoth shadow, flick of flipper, body of delight, diving deep. You've probably seen a small bird dive bomb a larger bird to drive it off from its nest when the larger bird would eat the eggs and eat the young. Smaller. When the smaller bird dive bombs a hawk, I see it maneuvers to be above, never below. It throws its body at the enemy, hurls what it has at the order of things, does what it can against thievery, dives at the wingspan it should fear, not with talons, but with thin, ordinary feet, hits the hawk, which merely shivers and flies on. But there is an interval, a chink, when the smaller flings its all, and the single-minded body of power, for an instant, gives. Hammered by the hail. In this poem, I was thinking of my father, but today I'm going to read this for Don Welch. 1. Storms damaged my father's pear trees, petals falling to the ground with the hailstones. 2. He walks under the broken trees in the cancer days. His steps falter. He pretends my mother has his hand. She is his love. The days spin by so fast and so slow. 3. He is young, carrying a fishing pole. Then he is a soldier crossing the equator. The gray water, the waves, the captain's voice. With every turn of the screw, we are deeper and deeper into enemy waters. In the darkness, he digs his foxhole on the beach, waits in his helmet, the bullets, the screams. In New Guinea, paradise of green, he gets jungle rot under the leather of his boots, sprays his skin with DDT. He is a cook in a tent. He pares and peels and chops. He comes home different and the same. His wife waiting with the child. She will not leave the town, so he builds there. Jack of all trades, he says, master of none. After his day of work, measuring, nailing, laying blocks, farmers come to his house, tell him the project they have for him, remodel a kitchen, add a bedroom, a bath. He has all the work he needs, all he can handle. The spring storms break his pear trees, but they bear fruit. He likes that. They may be stunted and split, but the fruit is good. I'll read a couple poems from Lost in Seward County. This book is on the 150 books for Nebraska's 150th birthday. And this is Taking the Baby to the Prairie, which is like a ritual to show the child the grasslands and the birds and a connection with the outdoors. Taking the baby to the prairie. The wren bubbles over. The voice of the bobwhite is clear as a glass of water. Out of sight, in last year's grasses, the pheasant drums his wings. The baby squints and blinks, swings her head around to look when the pheasant crows, when the swallow dips down. Stems of switchgrass make a low sound in the wind. Welcome home. I lift this child to grassland, to kingbird, to cedar and sumac, to the long roots hidden like a deer in the draw. Under the shells of these dry grasses, a green strength comes. And this poem rocks back and forth between injustice and cruelty going on in the world and the fact that we are enjoying our lives. We shouldn't waste them. And it rocks back and forth between a cafe and a news story that I heard on the radio and can't forget. Those who are displaced. To leave my grandma, I didn't want it. The woman, Kosovar, displaced, interviewed by American radio. To leave my grandma, I didn't want it, that's the truth. And her voice sinks into the radio and the rest of the day. Me, I'm picking up pieces of glass at my mailbox, the soft rain sinking into my coat. Me, I'm walking on the wet sidewalk. I'm cutting through a park, to a cafe, where I'm such a regular that one waitress asked me to sign the farewell card for another who's moving to Kansas City just for the heck of it. A cafe where I've been having coffee and toast through several sets of hostesses, waiters, and cooks. And what I can't forget is what she said about the train ride, or what she couldn't finish saying about the soldiers. The boy who was crying on the train couldn't stop crying for his father. They had killed his father. He couldn't stop crying. The soldiers opened the window. They pushed the boy through the window. I open the unreal square of strawberry jelly. I eat. And I'll close with a fun kind of poem, The Last Day of Kindergarten. People the world over want for their children a more peaceful world, so we look to the young. And this is a happy look at two boys on the last day of kindergarten. They're turned loose. And I'll end with this poem of celebration. In the photograph, the boy is ecstatic, set free, a young king, everything ahead of him. There is nothing he can't have if he wants it, and he wants it, as does his friend beside him. They are ready now to ride off together and slay dragons, rescue the world. It's all here in the park after the last bell. It's here in the green summer they have been released to. It's here in their manhood. They've only finished kindergarten, but they understand freedom and friendship. They're on top of the picnic table. They're on top of the world in their tennis shoes. They have raised their arms. They are such men as could raise continents. They have survived. Look how their fingers reach the sky, and their legs are sure as horses. Their bodies will forever do anything they ask.